Hello, it's Chris from Chromatic Music. I'm going to do this video real quick just to kind of show you guys first a couple things. I had a gentleman find me on YouTube, which was really nice. Had a great conversation with him today. He's kind of stuck in a little bit of a musical rut, as we all have been. I want to kind of show kind of a real-time example of how I approach songwriting, music, composition, all that kind of good stuff. And I've brought up just a couple things. I've got a rhythm guitar track. I've got a bass potential track. There's nothing recorded. I haven't even set a tempo. And then I've got some drums that I'm going to program, on the fly. And I'll just kind of make it up. And I'm going to structure just kind of a different couple of sections, really kind of what I would consider to be kind of a verse, intro, then it kind of to a bridge, and then kind of a chorus, kind of a feel. And I know that these things are based around the lyrics and melody and those type of things, but since I'm a soloist, I still structure them like if the melodies that I write on the guitar are still going to be like lyrical in their phrasing. I'm just going to go ahead and make it up kind of on the fly. It's just basically a very simple kind of droned cool little part that's just a something very, very basic like that. So I'm going to just kind of layer a couple tracks here. Once I program the drums, what I'm going to do is first off I could establish a tempo. So let's see what the default tempo is at 120. See what that sounds like. So that'll be a little too slow. It's still too slow. So what I'm going to do is probably bump that up to, say, 145. I think that might be closer to what I need. Yeah, it's a good groove. I think I'm probably going to put it at 150 just because I like the feel. Just a little bit more rushed. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to show you also how important bringing in the other elements rather than trying to overwrite a guitar part. Bringing in bass, bringing in drums, how they can fill a lot of that space up, because when we start to be instrumentalists, we start to overwrite every single piece, and we want every single thing to be amazing. We want the bass line to be all cool on its own, and the guitar lines, and we get to the solo, and it's just like, then we write out these beautiful parts. How are they going to be just cohesive together and make just one good piece of music as a whole plate? So let me just go ahead and start with, I usually just lay down a very simple kind of eighth note type deal on the hi-hat, and I just run it from track 1. Okay, and I just do about 4 bars of that. And let's see here, I'm going to go ahead and quantize it hard. Okay, and I'm just going to shorten that part down. Alright, so now I have my basic hi-hat part, and I'm just going to duplicate that a couple of times just so I have it. Alright, so now that I've got that going, okay, so I can play to that. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit the record on the rhythm guitar, and I'm just going to lay down just that section. I need my count out, sorry. There we go. Now that I've got that, two full sections of that, and that's what I'll call my verse, okay? Now what I usually do, just to keep things simple, is I'll go ahead and snap all these pieces together so I've got them in sections. So now I've got that. Now I'm going to just go ahead and take this and duplicate it. This is just drums, and I'll do it again. I can do it as many times as I want, and I'll delete them later. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of a cool trick. I usually make my verses green. Okay, I don't color the track so much as I color the actual sections. That's where I know where I'm at. So you can see up on the screen, it's kind of like this little green block. So what I'm going to do is start a bar before, and the next section is going to be considered my bridge. Okay, so I'm just going to punch in right there. Okay, I've got something that evolved that sounds kind of like a bridge. Now, lucky for us, it's already yellow. That's what I like to keep the bridges at, is yellow. And then I do blue for the choruses. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and punch in right here, and this one's going to be more of a kind of a pretty, just a simple chord progression, nothing too outside. And then we have my kind of cool little block. We'll color this one blue, blammo, and that's kind of teal. Let's get it more blue. There we go. So we got the structure of my chord progression, and they're all pretty much about the same, okay? But you can kind of see where we're at as far as section-wise. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in a bass. So I'm going to pop this over here, and I got to kind of remember how this goes here. This is from here, and I need this on the left side, so I'll plug that in. And I'll just use my trusty bass over here. Hopefully it's got a good battery, and it's tuned. Plug this into the appropriate section here, inputs. Okay. Alright, so it's a little loud, but whatever. Let me just make sure it's in tune. Alright, see what we get. So that's kind of a structure, and it's starting to kind of come along, but it's not really there yet. And again, this stuff starts to sound pretty weak. Bass a little out of tune still. But I'm just going to keep that just to show you how I can keep rolling. Bass over here for a sec. Alright, so now get to play some drums, do some programming. So I'm just going to keep a couple of these pieces right here and just glue them together. Shouldn't be too complicated. Bump, bump. Alright, again, that's that. And I'm just going to put a loop field around this. I don't need to do much, so just this. Take off this. Just start with a just something like that. Kind of go in the realm of maybe like say something like the Police, something like that. Get in there. Just kind of play it, jam along with it. So I like that. Kind of just a simple groove. Now that I've got that part, go ahead and just quantize these notes. It's just kind of on the beat. I know it takes away the human feel, but I'm alright with that. I'm just working on it. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and glue my next section together. Start from here. Start a bar out. And then this one I want to progress a little bit. I want it to sound maybe a little bit more driving, so it feels like it's going somewhere different. Because if I keep the beat the same, it's just going to be whatever. So, check it out. Okay, so I got my kind of cool little fill there. Now what I was meaning to do is this note got kind of thrown around here. Again, I'll take this, quantize all the little parts. What I really wanted it to do was kind of this. Okay, cool. I missed a little hit there. It's supposed to be kind of... That's supposed to be... Do that. And I'm going to take that note, copy it, put it up here, and then bring it a little forward. So it sounds like a flam. Spread it apart just a little bit more, just to get it a little bit more space between the notes. There we go. Okay, so you get the idea. Now those hi-hats are obviously going to evolve, and we need something to kind of keep them all together. But so far, we've got something that's starting to sound pretty good. Alright, so now I'm going to take this, glue it all together, and what I'm going to do is just take all these hi-hats, and I'm just going to turn them into a ride cymbal. Take the first one, turn it into a... That's kind of weak. Crash cymbal. Alright, and now I'm going to start, and I'm going to give it the life of what a chorus sounds like to me on the drums. I'll apologize if the battery dies, because it looks like it's about to die anyway, so get back to it with another camera. Here we go. Okay, sorry about that. Try that again. Just a kick and snare kind of do thing. This one got a little bit screwed up, but you know, pretty simple, pretty on point, and I can loop this thing for days and it'll start to sound like something. There we go. So I'm going to real quick pause this because the battery's going to die and I know I'm going to be missing this, so I'm going to start it with another camera, probably my phone, and then we'll blend them together. Sorry, I had to crop to a different, completely different camera, so it's going to be a little bit weird. Microphone might seem quite a bit different. Anyway, so what I'm doing right now is I'm got my bass line, got my rhythm guitar part, and kind of, you know, got all these little tiny pieces and stuff like that. What I'm going to do now is just go ahead and find a nice little lead sound on my Axe Effects, and I've got this one right here. Let's see. drive down just a bit. Alright. It's a little squeaky, but see how it works. Input drive this down a little bit. Okay, so go ahead and add myself a stereo guitar track. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and belt some ideas over it. See what comes out, and that's it. And that's just how I go about it. I have no idea what's going to come out of me, but let's just see. That's all I was able to come up with. So there's that, and then I can roll over it if I find that there was some cool ideas there. There's a few things that were mildly interesting there. If I don't think that that's going to be cool enough and I want to do a couple more passes, I can create a couple of different tracks. I can do a couple of different lanes on this. But for me, I'll just mute this. I'll duplicate it. So I got the same input settings, and just mute this track out and delete this. And I'll give it another run. And sometimes I'll like the beginning and I'll just cut in on a certain part, but I'll just go ahead and give this just another shot from the beginning and see what else comes out. That was obviously way better. So there was some groove, there was some feel. So what we do at this point, this is the real trick. Stop playing. Unplug. That's the idea. Because here's the deal. If you just keep recording and you just keep playing, that's where all of your good ideas will just get buried in just a bunch of licks and everything else. What we got to do is we've got to isolate what was good about that first idea, see if there was anything redeeming. So what I'm going to point out, just by listening, is just kind of how I approached it. It's already got some interesting groove. Then I can be kind of followed up with some delay. See that right there? That can get stuck in your head if you just repeat that over and over and over. And if the background music is actually pretty cool and groovy and it's got all these things going for it, then guess what? You can develop that idea. And that can be a lot of different things. That could be a vocal part, could be whatever. So let's just kind of see where that goes and takes us. And see, I love that. It's simple. I mean, you could hear a pop artist singing something like that. So now, see where it goes from here. Cool, gotta work on that. A nice little build up right into that solo, just kind of rolled right into it. Sounds really neat. Nice bluesy. Fluff all at the end, whatever. It's just kind of for shredding, and that's fine. But as far as cleaning that up to make that really rememberable, I would take away my favorite part of this whole thing that I really would want to develop is this. That's the makings of something very good. I guarantee you that's going to be a good song when that's done. It's catchy. It's catchy. It's already stuck in your head probably. Na, 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 na. Like it or hate it, whatever. But the point is that can be developed into a really, really, really strong idea. Now, you see what the structure was with the green, the yellow, the blue, all that kind of good stuff. That whole verse, bridge, chorus type of thing, if you take that approach to writing solos and writing music and kind of develop your ideas like that, you can steal from Mariah Carey, you can steal from Godsmack, you can steal from Britney Spears, you can steal from Frank Sinatra, all these different things. Because really what you're doing is you're stealing their structures, how they enter from a verse to a bridge, what they do with the kick. You're paying attention to this. It's a nice build up. It's very, very simple. We could even do a club track version of that, put some hip hop drums instead of these heavy metal drums on there, and kind of blend a hybrid between the two of those. Take some shakers, take some timbales, and whatever, any kind of things that we can put in there just to make it sound interesting. And then some acoustic guitar would be nasty. And so there's a lot of different things that we can throw at that at the beginning of the production. But the point is just from the beginning of that versus the very first one of this, I mean, I can tell you there's almost nothing here. I'm going to keep. Nothing. Garbage. The difference between this one is I was trying to solo. I wasn't trying to sound like a vocalist. That's the difference. That was just me just holding notes and just bending and doing that kind of stuff, trying to get the tone and getting all nasty and everything like that. But realistically, I wasn't trying to be lyrical with the patterns I was playing. Showing off. Now that's cool. That's redeemable. Let's see a little farther back. That's pretty. So what I'll do is I'll keep that little section, roll it back, make sure I have it. Okay, so I'll just hit it from the beginning of this. So I'll just cut it, garbage, all that other stuff. And that's really where it starts, from that little... so all that's crap. So from that first whole take, I got this idea. And that's cool. So let's see how the other one resolved from the beginning of that. And see, all that stuff really didn't do very much for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that part out, take this part, drop it in there. It's going to sound a little strange, but you'll see what happens. Crossfade all these together. That's actually turning out to be kind of cool. So just that little section from that other thing was the only redeemable part, but I never would have wrote that solo that way because I was on a different part of the neck, different part of the strings, totally programmed with my muscle memory. And then that little section just gets dropped in there, and it tells me, it's like, wait a minute, I can go from that note way over to this note in the same solo. So I have to rewrite it based off of that. So what they call that, after you get all these millions of cuts and everything like that, that's the best solo you never played. It's just, you never actually played it that way, but it's like the best solo. That's the way it has to be. Now what I usually do is I crop it all together, get it exactly what I do, and then I figure the parts back out, and then relearn it, and then that way when I play it live, but I play it with cohesion, so there's, if I need to, I'll put like an extra slide in there or something like that that'll bridge those parts and make them sound a little bit more natural. But sometimes when they sound like that or a little bit weird, you can kind of stretch them and do some different things with them. But the point is that's how the ideas get developed. You need to play certain little sections of them, back them up, stop. When you finally get something good, and don't record for 20 minutes. That's the biggest problem I used to have. I used to record these 9-minute solos and stuff like that, and having to go back through all that crap for, you know, it just takes too long. It's nobody wants to listen to that. I don't even want to listen to it. So at worst, this is a minute and 18 seconds. That is not a long time, especially when you're composing music. You can go back and work on like these small little 30-second sections of pieces of the verses and all that kind of stuff and really develop them out. But if you got something that sounds really, really, really good, you can take that and, you know, all we have to do to get this thing to be a whole other song, just copy all those pieces, and then we've got, you know, already a 2.5-minute song, which is almost all you need. Put a little bit of a breakdown, a little change up in there, a little interlude, and then break it back into the chorus to finish it off, and you got yourself a perfect 3-minute song. It's not too long, it's not too overbearing, and people will enjoy it, and you can develop it and go like that. So I will, this example was made for John, just to give you an idea of what we started with, and that's sometimes the best way music actually happens, is you don't even need, I wasn't even intending to come in this room today and mess around with this stuff. I just got an email from somebody that was really interested, and you know, he was really, really just in a bad place kind of with music and kind of depressed about that kind of stuff, and I've been there a million times. I've quit music a million times. I've come back to it, and now I just do it because I love it. So if there's other people out there that are struggling and have questions, you know, I'd love to answer them, help you get through this next stage. Again, the gear that I'm using, this is just acting as a MIDI controller. The drums I'm using are Superior Drum 3. I'm using Cubase for the DAW, and I'm using the XFX 2 as my interface for my guitar. And then I'm just using kind of an amp for the bass, just to run direct, just as a preamp out of the bass preamp, and that's how I get my bass sound. But that's about it. If you guys have any questions, you know, please put them in the comments, and also please subscribe if you like, and we'll try to see if we can break this out. Thanks.